Early one morning in November, there were few cars to be seen at Hyde Park Corner in London, but one was extraordinary. It had a blue body, black wings, and a brass radiator. It was an Austin Clifton Heavy 12.4, and it was called Gumdrop. Today was the day of the annual Brighton Run for veteran cars, and Gumdrop was joining them. "We'll drive to Brighton and might appear on television," said Mr. Oldcastle to his dog, Horace. The veteran cars were all lined up in the park, with people admiring them. The club secretary arrived.
"Sir, your car is not old enough to join the Brighton Run," he said. "No car made after 1904 can take part. Gumdrop was not made until 1926. He is a vintage car, not a veteran car."
Mr. Oldcastle was vastly disappointed as the veteran cars drove off. "No Brighton for us," he told Horace. Then an old yellow bus arrived, full of Chelsea pensioners. "Oi, wait for us!" shouted the driver. "You can't join in as you're not old enough either," Mr. Oldcastle explained. "I'll tell you what, we'll have our own Brighton Run. We'll go on the side roads instead." The pensioners cheered. Horace barked, and they were off. They drove out of London and were about to turn off the main Brighton road when a man stopped them. His veteran car had broken down, and he had to get to Brighton. "Get in," said Mr. Oldcastle. Mr. Thornycroft jumped in, and they were off again. Suddenly, at a crossroads, they had to stop. There, crossing the road, was a wheel. Behind it was a car without a wheel, out of control. In the other direction was a truck, approaching fast. Mr. Oldcastle knew what to do. He drove forward and stopped. The veteran car bumped into Gumdrop's front wheel and stopped. The truck braked, swerved, and slid into a ditch. Phew! An accident was avoided. Gumdrop pulled the truck out of the ditch. "We were hurrying to film the Brighton Run and thought we'd missed you," said Boofy Greenhorn. "But we're not proper veteran cars," began Mr. Oldcastle. "You're old crocks," said Boofy, and he ran back to his truck. "My word," thought Mr. Oldcastle, "it looks as though Gumdrop will be filmed for TV too." After some miles, they saw a strange bicycle.
"That's old Dusty Miller on his penny farthing," said one of the Chelsea pensioners. "Come and join us."
Then they saw a steamroller with another dog sitting on it. "Come with us to Brighton, then Horace can talk to your dog," said Mr. Oldcastle. Then Boofy saw his friend Lofty in a Model A. "Come with us to Brighton." So there was quite a cavalcade following Gumdrop now. Boofy filmed them all. He still thought it was the real Brighton Run. At a crossroads they stopped for a lorry. "Jumping Jehoshaphat!" exclaimed Mr. Thornycroft. "That's my car! It's been stolen! Catch them!" Gumdrop soon overtook the lorry, but couldn't stop it. Then Mr. Oldcastle saw a crane. "The car on the lorry is stolen," he shouted to the crane driver. "Get down to it!" The crane driver knew what to do. He lowered the big hook, caught Mr. Thornycroft's car, and lifted it straight out of the lorry. The thieves were so frightened they quickly disappeared round the corner. "1,000 thanks," said Mr. Thornycroft to the crane driver. "Would you please bring my car to Brighton?" So the crane joined in. They were approaching Brighton now, downhill and going fast. There was a cry behind Gumdrop. "My brakes are bust!" The bus driver couldn't stop. Gumdrop went even faster. Then they saw the Brighton road ahead and all the veteran cars coming along it. There was only one thing to do. Gumdrop braked. The old bus bumped gently into Gumdrop's back. Gumdrop was pushed forward again. Mr. Oldcastle pulled on the handbrake hard. They stopped just in the nick of time. Phew! An accident was avoided again. The drivers of the veteran cars looked on in amazement. Boofy filmed it all. They arrived in Brighton, Gumdrop and his strange procession ahead of the proper veteran cars. All the people cheered. When they finally stopped, the secretary of the club ran up. "Thank you for bringing our president to Brighton in time," he said. "And I thank you," said the president, who was none other than Mr. Thornycroft. "I hereby elect Gumdrop as an honorary veteran car extraordinary, so that you can join the Brighton Run every year from now on." And that night, they all appeared on the television news.